Eddie Diaz de Leon.
This is Omar Waheed.
This is Nicholas Garten.
And this is Rob Chappell.
And it's 365 Amplified. And I'm back. I know I've been gone for a while. Did you all miss me? Lie.
Definitely.
Lie. I know what you're going to say.
Yes.
How dare you?
Every week.
Every
It's
week.
Like, oh no.
Every day.
How are we going to do this podcast longer than intended?
How are we going to do that?
Wow. Wait. I was going to say, how are we going to do the podcast at all?
See, there you go. Nick is getting a present.
Yeah.
But also, if it's not going longer than intended, it means you're missing some important insight.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Uh-huh.
A longer than intended episode is a good episode.
It's a good episode, y'all. So get ready, because it's going to be a long one.
There's a lot to talk about.
There is a lot going on.
And in a little bit, we'll have Dr. Joe Goddard here from the Madison Metro School District talk about some funding issues at both the federal and state level. But first, we got some other stuff to get to.
Yeah. What's the first thing we want to talk about this morning, Rob? I'm out of practice. Y'all got to help me with this. Oh. Rob's like, I sent it to you. You sent it to me 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So I have not read it. And quite frankly, though, isn't it best that when I don't read things? Because you get the natural reaction from me.
You just wing it completely.
I mean, he's not writing a script.
I know he's not, but I also have no idea what you sent it to me 10 minutes ago. I was working.
It's an outline.
Oh.
Two UW things. First of all, the University of Wisconsin is going to, in quotes, sunset the division.
What a term.
That's probably not the best term.
I don't know that when I said that to Rob, when I saw it, I was like, we're going to go with sunset?
Well, it's the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Educational Achievement.
I'm talking about the language, though.
Sunset's what happens when it gets darker, which they're decidedly not.
Yeah.
We're gonna give it a sundown, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, kind of is what they're implying. I was like, who wrote this? ChatGPT? Nobody recognized or saw this language. And here's the thing: there's no way it didn't take them a month to write this, which means they've gone through many iterations.
And they thought
sunset was
sunset, the setting of the sun, which is synonymous for you should get out of this town.
Yes,
person of color.
Yeah.
That's the language we're using?
Well, that's the language we're using in about the 37th paragraph of this announcement. Yeah,
it's a very long announcement. That's not an announcement anymore. This is like a dissertation.
This is the intentionally burying the lead.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yeah.
So this long announcement comes out. We got a link to it on the website on Madison365.org. Talking about all this working group that had convened over the past academic year by Dr. Charles Isbell, the former provost.
Yeah, it was only a year.
Who's
now leaving?
Who's now going to be the chancellor at the University of Illinois?
And this week.
Yeah.
So
why are they doing this?
Well, there's a strategic realignment of all the administrative functions, right? And that's what they're kind of. It feels to me like they're kind of hiding the DDEEA, where they're basically capitulating to everybody who hates DEI now, which includes the Trump administration as well as the state legislature.
Yep. And
they're kind of doing a waving at administrative restructuring and saying that, and as long as we're restructuring, we're also going to restructure DDEEA. Yeah.
So we're going to restructure over here. We're going to restructure over here. And this DDEA thing also restructured. But we're going to call it sunsetting. Because they even, as much as they were trying to, no, as part of this larger restructure that we're doing anyways, they're not. But we're doing it anyways. We're going to call out that we are sunsetting DDEA.
Right.
But we're not doing it because of DEI being problematic for certain folks.
No, it's for efficiency and for realignment.
But we're going to call it out.
Didn't they also say LeVar Charleston's financial mismanagement is a large portion of it?
Well, yes. That's what was interesting, and that's what irked me a little bit yesterday when this came out Wednesday. Is back in January they removed Dr. LeVar Charleston, who was the leader of this division. Mm-hmm. Because of financial irregularities, basically overspending, kind of.
Not overspending, though, because he did have the money. They did have, it's not like they took money from a different pot.
Right.
It was just not, it's not a best practice the way that he spent the money, right?
Right.
Like it wasn't money that they took from somewhere else. It's not money
It didn't go over budget.
No.
But they didn't use the budget the way
that they would have
thought.
Yeah, it was wise.
In any case, at that time, they basically moved all of DDEEA under Charles Isbell.
Yeah, the provost.
So my headline at that time was they removed the chief diversity officer and restructuring the department. Because that's how I read the announcement, that they're moving it around. They're moving stuff around.
It's called a restructure.
And I got an email from John Lucas, the spokesman, who said we're not, that we're just basically putting Charles Isbell into LeVar Charleston's job.
We're not restructuring
on an interim basis. And he literally, the words literally, I checked the email yesterday. That's different than a restructure, which is not planned.
Yep.
There was no plan in January for a restructure.
Yes, there was. There's no way.
Of course there was.
That's why they had the working group.
They've been working on this for a year.
It's not even been a year, though. But yeah, on some level, yes. So they've been working on it for a year, right?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is a restructure, which was planned.
And had been quietly planned for a while. There's no way it wasn't.
And they're moving like the DDEEA, and so you know this better than I do, so correct me, but there's some scholarship programs like Posse and PEOPLE program and other of those kinds of scholarship programs are in DDEEA, which are moving to student affairs.
Yes. No. Teaching and learning. Division of Teaching and Learning.
Yes, thank you. And then there's some employee supports also within DDEEA, which are moving to HR.
Yes.
Right. And then there's also some data collection function that's moving to another department or division that's specifically for data. And whatever. So it is being restructured. And in the announcement, when she talked about the scholarships specifically, Dr. Mnuchin, the chancellor, said there's these scholarship programs that currently benefit 5% of our students, which I don't know why you needed to mention that.
But the language also was about then like making sure that we support all students, right? So letting us know
all students matter.
All students matter.
There it is,
Jennifer.
Right?
Wow.
On Jenny wanted us to know all students matter.
Yeah.
And that this only impacts like 5% of students.
Which felt really dismissive.
So 5% of students do not have priority access to these funds, except for there's all these scholarship funds for all students that do not get claimed, but you're targeting the 5% of students?
And 5% of what? If there's like 50,000 students, like 5% is now like a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when the campus is 64% white, the student population, you're basically saying, the way I read it, and it wasn't explicit, but the way I read it, maybe I'm being not very generous reading it this way, but is that, don't worry about it. It's only 5% of students.
I mean, whether they meant to or not, that's how it landed, right?
Yeah,
the intention and impact all matter, y'all. And if you didn't intend that, it still read that way, so fix it.
Right. We can't possibly have all these programs for only 5% of our students.
How dare you?
And if you're part of that 5%, like that doesn't feel nice. Right?
Well, we have to do it for all students.
Right.
Well, there's plenty of different subsects of white students where they're only eligible for certain things. Are they also going to be getting rid of those?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they going to be getting rid of program-orientated?
They're not getting rid of them. I will say that.
Well, I'm not convinced of that.
Yet. You did not be finished.
Right.
You didn't let me finish.
Yep.
Look at Rob look at white man trying to white-splain me. I'm like, let me finish.
No, you're right.
Yet.
Yep.
Right now, they're being moved into the Division of Teaching and Learning, where that support is going to exist there. However, the staffing might get smaller because of redundant roles.
Yes.
Though from what I understand, the redundant roles that they're removing really are at the administrative level of DDEA, which is like their events, comms, some data, and administrative assistants and stuff like that. Right.
That's what it sounds like. A small number of jobs will be eliminated. They also were very clear, though, that for the PEOPLE, Posse, all those other scholarship programs, current and incoming students won't be affected.
But not future. And say nothing about future students. So so they might again sunset those programs. Yeah, I'm using their language.
They're definitely leaving that option open.
Every current student is a future student at some point,
right?
But that's what they're saying. Like those current students will get the program through those years of their whatever they committed to, which is usually 4 years of support. But they're not talking about incoming freshmen or incoming transfer students whatsoever.
Right. Well, they did say incoming, but like anybody who's been committed to scholarship will still get it. But
for this year.
For this year.
Yeah.
But after that, we don't know. Yeah. And I did put the question in, and I haven't heard back.
Well, and my other concern too was the emphasis on the working group report.
Right.
And it was just to only base it on 1 year of some data, not a lot of data, right? But like there was some opportunities there to talk about maybe not DDEA as a whole, but how important these programs are for first-gen students and their impact. I.e., there could have been some better comparisons that help solidify why it was important to keep these programs for the future and how they're going to continue to measure these so that they do become viable for each incoming class, right? To show and to say and to signal, we're going to continue to do this work, but this is how we're going to measure it so you all can see impact, right? And this is how we're going to measure it so we're aware of what the impact is for students who are able to, to go into these programs versus students who are not. Right? And how successful they are in these programs versus not, right? That kind of data is important, and they know that. And, I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity for that working group, but also for the future of these programs, for the chancellor to signal like, hey, we're going to continue to measure these things so we can show you all that how important they are to the student experience and student success, right? You want to, fine, I'll use your language all you want, but you could have used your own language to continue to show and signal support for the future.
Right. So we'll stay on top of that. I've also reached out and we'll try to get some reaction from other campus stakeholders. Not a lot of people are real eager to talk about it.
Well, yeah, because they're concerned about what the next... Yeah. And, it's a little exhausting, right? So a lot of folks in UW also got out of this final state agreement for the budget where there was still, UW didn't get everything they wanted, but they got something. So folks are like, look, just put your head down and keep going. However, as UW system and UW-Madison wants to continue to push how important we are to the state and how important we are to the future of the state, you need those folks to help tell those stories too. And if you don't engage them, and if they're too fearful to talk, they're not going to tell their stories about impact. They're not going to share their stories about how we get better. They're not going to share their stories about how we challenge each other for data, to justify who we are and what we do for the state. Like you gotta bring people in and let them lovingly criticize how we move further in the future. And I don't know that they're ever going to do that, but it is something to think about. Like, how do we do this well in this next iteration? Like, this is where we are now. Fine. Okay. So how do we do it better the next iteration? And how do we look at ourselves critically to do it and move further? Right. So we'll see.
Turning the page to another UW story, which is actually an update of a story we talked about last year, almost exactly a year ago. That last summer, as folks know, the UW does a bunch of summer programs for younger people, for high school kids and middle school kids, and some of which are residential on campus. And one of those was the accelerated learning program through the Division of Continuing Studies. And there was a kid from Beaver Dam named Nikita Stewart Trivedi, who goes by Kitty. And she was 14 last year. She's 15 now. She has Gold's syndrome, which is a very, very rare genetic disorder that affects multiple systems, your skin, your eyes, your limbs. So she has a prosthetic leg and gets around okay, but sometimes needs a wheelchair. And also she's blind in one eye and severely visually impaired in the other, and so it needs some accommodations for those disabilities in the classroom. She wasn't going to need any accommodation for the dorm rooms, but she definitely needed a classroom aid. And the Division of Continuing Studies basically said no. And actually ended up they tried. They worked for like a month to try to figure out accommodations for Kitty, and then ultimately 2 days before the program was supposed to start, they just kicked her out. They said, we're going to unenroll you from the program. We'll try again next year, maybe. The McBurney Disability Resource Center on campus specifically works with enrolled UW students
and programs.
If the program asks.
I was going to say, but you have to ask. You have to reach out to them. But they are willing to work with programs.
Yeah, right. The mom going to McBurney, the McBurney's like, well, we can't help you until the Division of Continuing Studies asks. And the Division of Continuing Studies never asked. So the mom, Kitty Trivedi, actually went and got a classroom aide through the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation at the state and an agency in Sun Prairie. They had it all lined up, and the UW still said, no, we can't do it because they haven't done a background check, even though every state certified educational aide does a background check. In any case, it was kind of a mess. And Lena and Kitty and some friends ended up basically going to campus for those 3 weeks anyway, just kind of protest outside. And that's where I caught up with them last year. Now, the update is that the University of Wisconsin Office of Compliance has opened a formal investigation into this incident. Lena, the mom, filed a formal complaint on April 1st, and the Office of Compliance looked at that complaint, interviewed Lena and Kitty both, and decided that there was enough there to look into further. So Afra Mednick, the dean, the associate dean rather, for Division of Continuing Studies, and the department and her whole staff are now officially speaking under investigation for possibly a disability discrimination, which would violate UW Regent policies as well as the Americans with Disabilities Act. The outcome, it's not real clear what the timeline would be or how long it's going to take, nor what the outcome would be. I spoke with Lena and Kitty again, and I have the story up at Madison365.org. They're not necessarily looking for Afra's head or anybody to get fired over it or anything like that. They just kind of want to be able to say, let's let the McBurney Disability Resource Center help people without going through the extra hoops. Since this happened in the past year, Kitty has gone to 4 different campus programs, 2 of which were residential, never had a problem.
Campus programs within UW, at UW Madison, or just other places?
No, other places.
Yeah.
Illinois. And she's actually currently right now getting college credit from the College of DuPage in Illinois to make a movie about her experience at UW. She's I should mention she's an aspiring animator. That's like what she wants to be. And by the way, the program that she got kicked out of was art and activism.
Yeah. I was going to say, they named the program because the program was,
so she's making a stop motion animation movie
about that experience
of American Girl dolls. Using American Girl dolls for stop motion.
And where are American Girl dolls from? Like, where they originate?
Right here.
Yeah. In Middleton, right?
Yeah. So, but it sounds like that's going to be pretty funny.
Yeah, but, she's rather thoughtful in this. This whole opportunity.
So anyway, we'll stay on top of that and find out what happens next. And again, it's hard to tell what the timeline is going to be. It could be months. The investigation they were notified that there was an investigation back on June 9th, so it's been about a month already. But it'll be a couple more months probably. And then we got some sports to talk about.
Let's talk about sports.
Let's do a hard turn into sports. Nick, you talked with a local kid who very nearly made Team USA.
Yeah, Nyajuacni Riak, who's going to be a sophomore at Follette. She went to the under 16, which is like 16 and under, Team USA Women's AmeriCup tryouts. And which I'm sure you had to be invited for. So they took like 58 of the best young players in the country, and she was among them. And she said it was awesome. She said it was super intense. She got to be there. It was in Colorado Springs, so she got to be there for I don't know what it was, a week or two, playing against the best girls in the country.
Now how old is she? Is she 14? 15?
She's 15.
Okay.
I believe she's 15.
Yeah, I think that sounds right. She ended up not making the team, but she was like that close. A year younger than a lot of the other kids that were there.
She was a year younger than most of the other kids. They did take a couple kids that were her age, it looks like, but she was right there with them. I mean, there's no. She didn't tell me exactly when she found out that she didn't make the final team. She just said that like they cut 30 people at a time. So basically, I mean, that's a big cut. So I don't mind getting fired if it's with 30 other people. But,
I would. You fired me with all these other people. I could have smoked all of them. That would have been me.
That's how she feels now, coming back to Madison after having been for a couple weeks with the best players in the country. Is she was like, this is all in slow motion now. And
interesting.
They had a little summer league where they went toe to toe with the state champions and then beat everybody who was from Madison. So she said that I'm not sure this will be in there or not if I remember, but she said that the MMSD schools suck. So that there's not competition.
So. Throwing down the gauntlet for next season.
Throwing down the gauntlet. She was like, East doesn't even have a team, and but she scored like 50 points on East. Like twice last year as a freshman. So,
as a freshman.
Yeah.
She's very tall.
She is. She's 6'2", 6'3".
Well, she is tall, yeah.
Yeah. And very talented.
Yeah. She definitely is going to be going to E1. And
it's already like one of the top prospects for 2028.
Yeah, she is ranked in, the top 10 or 15 for her class by ESPN.
Oh, wow.
And she gave a big shout out. I covered a girls' middle school camp for our own Henry Sanders, whose daughter was ballin', Talia. And she had like 19 points out of the team's 21.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get her to go to La Follette. They say that Henry is bogus for having them out in Nyajuacni.
Well, I think Henry, as a alum of East, would maybe have a problem with her going to La Follette.
Yeah, I think he'd rather have her at East.
Yeah, but
you're like, no.
They were highly critical in the most nuanced way of Nyajuacni's program. They're like, they're ageist. They only play the seniors. They don't develop anyone else.
Which is, I don't disagree. Like, based on their previous patterns.
But that's why you do the AAU thing. That's why you have the Madison 365 girls team to give somebody like Talia the time and the minutes.
The Madison 365 girls were balling at this camp. Like, they had like 5 of the top players in the camp, and it was pretty impressive. I had a blast out there.
Henry's there to win.
Yep, we have I think one more tournament, not this weekend, but next weekend, and for this like February through June season, they were like 27-6 or something like that. They had a good season.
Yeah, they did.
We should start more sport teams.
I know.
I've been wanting to start a soccer team. That's a 365 indoor soccer team.
We should sponsor a boxing league.
Henry would do that because he was a boxer, right?
Yes.
Was. Henry. Yeah.
How many sports did Henry play?
Henry played a lot of sports.
Football, basketball, boxing, and frisbee golf. And no.
Could you imagine? That was Rob.
That's me. Speaking of it, there's another girls' sports story that we have up at Madison 365 right now, which is Charlotte Barrett, who is the daughter of former UW defensive lineman and current Dane County Sheriff Calvin Barrett. Was inherited her dad's athleticism, did a lot of sports as a kid. Soccer was the one that stuck. Since she was like 4 years old, she's playing soccer at Sun Prairie, and then she went to Wisconsin Rush, and then when she got to high school, and they were kind of like, I think we can get a scholarship in soccer. Sure. Maybe we should get on a higher platform. So she went to Madison 56ers, and that's where she got some attention from some colleges. Now, she wanted to be a biology major. She wants to be an anesthesiology assistant type person and wants to work in that field. And the best soccer offers she was getting were like, would you rather be an English major maybe?
Oh.
Like the schools that just didn't have that kind of biology department that she needed. And very wisely, she said, I don't want to change the rest of my whole career just to play soccer for 4 more years.
Yeah.
So she was kind of like going back and forth. And then she got an email from Eastern Michigan, Division I school, that said, would you consider rowing? And she thought it was a joke. She literally thought it was like spam. But responded and went and took a visit. And it turns out, and that's where she's going to go now. She's going to be a rower as a Division I scholarship athlete. And I talked to the head coach over there. It was like, rowing is like it's purely endurance kind of, and as long as you're a good athlete and you can dedicate yourself to working out, we can make you into a rower. So they told her, do not get on a rowing machine, do not get on a boat, don't develop any bad habits, just get in shape. Here's your workout for the summer. Get in shape. We'll teach you how to row when you get here. So I just think that's an amazing story. And we talked just last week with Marlo Hicks, who was a alum of the University of Wisconsin rowing team, where you don't see a lot of Black people, frankly. So the sport is, I guess, diversifying. But also, Charlotte's mom made the note that, there's rowing in the Olympics. You could go to the Olympics as a rower. And Charlotte's like, let me try it one time before we start talking about the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a really fun story. Anyway.
Is it too late to consider Iowa State? Great biology program.
Oh, my God.
Do they have a rowing program?
They have a
I'm
D1
kidding. Oh, no, I don't really want to know. I don't really want to know. Yeah, I don't really want to know. I was just being polite. He was going to list.
I'm going to keep selling Iowa, where the Madison will see that Des Moines is what Madison thinks it is.
Oh no.
It's my life mission.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
It's a choice. Yes.
We got to get the Des Moines Menace into the professional ranks first. Very good amateur soccer team.
Oh man, I knew that was going to happen. Why'd y'all start
I
it?
wasn't talking about the Des Moines Menace.
I didn't even know they had a team.
If you want Des Moines to become, or if you want to make the case that Des Moines is what Madison thinks it is,
that's the only thing it has to do.
Teams.
That's all it has to do. More teams, more
colors,
maybe.
A very mediocre lower level soccer team.
We compensate with the Barnstormers, arena football, very high ranking. So I think that's our trade-off.
With you gone last week, Rob got to talk for like 45 minutes about soccer.
And I asked him questions about it.
Why would you do that? Because you were like, I thought it was funny.
Well, I did have real questions.
Promotion, relegation.
Why Salt Lake City is Royal Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
Why is it? No, I don't want to know.
It's not supposed to be.
No,
I don't really actually want to know. I not even want to be polite with that.
Let's talk school funding.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
back on school.
That's a segue, kids.
A school episode.
Yeah, Joe Gothard and Dr. Ben Clardy from Verona had a press conference the other day that you went to. What was the upshot of that?
It's not looking great. Good.
It's not great, y'all.
There's a lot of pressure for public funding for public schools on a state and federal level. On the state side, none of the schools will get an increase in general aid, or at least MMSD won't and Verona won't. MMSD is facing a $64 million shortfall after requesting an increase in funding. They won't have enough. Yeah. And that is in the federal aspect, specifically to cover a variety of programs that are federally mandated.
Right. So you have to do these,
they
but
have
we're not going to give you money
it.
for it.
Exactly.
Right. And which means it's also like the programs and the services for the most vulnerable students.
It is.
That we're literally not allowed to not serve.
Exactly.
Right.
They have to give these.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's no choice.
Right.
But the funding is being cut.
Yeah.
To give them. That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But among that $64 million, recently they learned that they are getting $1 million withheld federally from before. It's after-school programs, which is at 11 locations. It's just going to upset the whole cycle there. 1.9 million will be withheld from Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV programs, which are specifically to
low-income students, mental health, arts and STEM,
professional
and
development.
professional development. Yeah,
And English language learners.
and
too.
English,
Yes.
ESL language. Yeah.
So like all the important things.
Yes.
All the things that are enrichment and make learning viewed and experienced in a way that's often more accessible for all students. Like, if you all want to play this game of like all students, let's play the game. That helps make the learning accessible to all students.
Yes, these programs have been around since 1964, and they're at risk. They just might not be in the same quality as before. The school districts do plan to still have these programs go, because again, they do not have a choice in that matter.
Right.
They don't know what the quality of that will look like. It will definitely not be up to previous standards, but they want to give it. They feel it's a moral imperative to give it, even if it's a actual forced directive to give it. They still feel like they should, and they want to spread the word out there. They feel like not much of the community knows
Or realizes or recognizes what the impact will be for their kids and their
Exactly.
experiences. And y'all, this is after school enrichment programs. So for summer and during the academic year, right? So it's going to impact childcare.
it only costs $1 million to babysit so many children.
But I'm saying, like, it changes the way that we can work.
Yeah.
Right? And people take that for granted. Absolutely. Or the ability to, like, explore art in different ways, explore STEM opportunities in different ways, workforce development in different ways, explore music in different ways, right? Like, that all goes away. And it doesn't impact, like, 2 years from now. This is not a 2 years from now consideration, right?
No, it's right now.
It's you will start feeling it right now, but you will feel it drastically harder in a year.
In 2026.
Right. And the question is how. Like, what, Dr. Godler mentioned at the press conference that we might have to go back to referendum.
They might have to, especially because there is no property tax increase for 2025. There's no recourse for schools to try to make up the difference this year, because these budgets have to be approved before the academic year. So there's no recourse there. So fund the schools, or the schools are going to make you pay for it.
Right. And we'll hear more. Sorry.
Yeah. They just had a referendum, and then now they're $64 million short.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because keep in mind, like, the state level didn't increase aid. So it's not like the state is now going to help supplement the shortfall. The state is saying, see what your like referendums do, because we're not going to do it.
Basically.
Yeah. So we're going to put Wisconsin children even further behind, and we're okay with it.
And we're going to hear directly from Dr. Gardner on some of the details of this, and some more details, and kind of what the plan is going forward. And he'll join us right after this. And we're back, and as promised, joining us now, Dr. Joe Gothard, the superintendent of the Madison Metropolitan School District. How are you doing, sir?
Good today. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Thanks for making the time. I know it's a turbulent moment for you in education, it seems.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it is summer too. We've got great summer programs going on, but it's a good time of year for us to plan and get ready for the upcoming year.
Very good. And that's been made a little bit difficult by the funding situation. Can you had a press conference earlier this week, and it seems like there's sort of a confluence of federal, state things happening that are putting school districts kind of in a tough spot. Can you give us kind of like the bottom line? What's the situation right now for schools in Madison?
Yeah, I think, Robert, it wasn't so much the shock and awe of what yesterday or what today represents for the state of public school funding. This has really been ongoing. The state of Wisconsin for the last 20 years has not funded or anywhere near provided a per pupil formula allowance or an increase in that has kept up with the cost for us to continue to do the great services that we do. I think being back new to the state, of course, I've been in 1 year of advocacy, but I can see and sense that many colleagues are tired. And we really need the kind of support necessary for us to see a sustainable future. At the state level right now, what it feels as though is that the shift has been placed solely on property taxpayers. If the state doesn't have the ability or the willingness to do their part, it leaves school districts with no choice. And that's frustrated. And I can tell you, I hear from taxpayers routinely that say, when is enough enough? And I will say to them, until there's a better system for us to adequately fund public schools, we're going to be in this kind of cycle. At the federal level, of course, the election 242 days ago brought a whole bunch of promises from a campaign trail that was very much anti-public education. So sadly, it should be no surprise that some of these things are taking place. Mm-hmm. But my fear is that, again, we're 242 days in. What is it going to look like a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 3 years from now? If these are subtle signs of how public education is going to be supported at the federal level, what could be in the future as well? And while the monetary amount of the federal funding freeze doesn't amount to a huge percentage for MMSD, the title services and the whole origin of title services is to help school districts support their most vulnerable students. Mm-hmm. And, again, to correlate that with the funds are frozen because of an agenda that appears to be all on one side and against the wishes of the current federal administration, presidential administration. I can't find words to say how, number one, wrong that is. Mm-hmm. And number two, programs in Madison and Madison School Community Recreation, for example, has been around for 100 years, more than 100 years, and has always been such a value add to this community. It's just a shame that we're now sharing that these federal funds are frozen and it is going to impact MSCR programs.
Yeah. And it's those federal title programs, Title I, Title II, Title III, et cetera. Am I mistaken that those are basically federally mandated services that the district has to provide for, like you said, those most vulnerable students? And now the funding is being frozen or diminished or taken away. Is that accurate?
The appropriations are given to states. So states administer the allocation of those funds to local school districts, the LEAs, the local educational areas. So and it's based on students who qualify based on a number of different categories and characteristics. Students who qualify for free and reduced price meals, for example. There will be an allocation for Title I funds based on that percentage in schools that qualify. So it's not a real, it can be a difficult thing to explain because each district gets a different amount. Some get a great deal, some get very little. But all of it's important because, again, it is going to support children who have been historically underserved.
Yeah. And what's the so let's kind of talk some specific numbers here. When we talked to you last time around the referendum, several months ago, if I remember correctly, you were saying that there's going to be a shortfall either way. If we pass the referendum, there'll be less of a shortfall, and that's the referendum passed. And now it seems the shortfall is going to be even bigger than you thought. Is that about right?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, we still have a structural deficit in the MMSD budget. We've taken some very aggressive steps to try to close that gap of telling our community and our board that we're continuing to use one-time funds to balance our budget. We built up $30 million new dollars this year, $30 million additional dollars next year. So we're getting support as time goes on. But we have to remember, and the community needs to remember too, as we receive more revenue, the cost to continue services goes up as well. Mm-hmm. And, trying to adjust for that, that change in that ratio is really challenging. Inflation's rising at a rate faster today than it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So it's all relative to that, but we're being very mindful with how we're spending money and also continuing to be able to offer our employees the best possible salaries and benefits as well. It's 80%, 75, 80% of our budget, our salary and benefits.
And that's not real discretionary. Like those aren't numbers you can necessarily tinker with easily.
No, they're not. And you go out and you see the percent increase on health insurance, for example, and this is a national thing in every industry. And it's like, okay, let's go out and try to do something better. And it's right now, it's just a very challenging time for us to project the future. To think about doing this without the support of our referendum in November from our community, I can't even imagine what it would feel like right now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The number that came out of the press conference the other day was $64 million. Is that just overall budget deficit for this year, or is that something specific?
Yeah, I want to explain that a little bit. I saw a couple of the different reports out of that. And look, I work with this stuff every day and it's confusing. So I can understand how sometimes it can be, translated in the press or by others. So the $64 million that was in reference to was our special education. The IDEA, passed in the 70s, is a federal mandate. We have to provide a free and appropriate public education to students who qualify, who have an individualized educational plan. And the amount that we spend on that comes from Fund 27. So it's a dedicated special education fund. And we receive a little bit of money from the federal government, about $10 million, and we receive about 30% of that reimbursed from the state. That leaves us with a huge amount of subsidized amount that we have to remove from our general fund, Fund 10, into Fund 27 to cover that cost. I'll call that a cross subsidy.
Yeah.
This year, we had to use $66 million from our general fund to cover that cost. We did get an increase from the state. So the state approved a 42% increase next year of reimbursement from 30. So we're projecting somewhere around the lines of $10 million, and we also projected that our costs will go up in special education next year. So that means that if it was to be $74 million, we're now projecting a $64 million budget shortfall in special education that we have to move from one fund and transfer to another. So that's what the $64 million came from.
Yeah, and so that's specific. And I just want to kind of repeat that just so I understand it and folks can keep up with it. But it's you're projecting that next year, based on what you know is coming from the state and what you're sort of projecting based on costs, that you're going to have to take $64 million that would have been spent on other things and move that into cover special education. Which then does that then leave you short on other programs, other expenses?
Well, I mean, we've been districts in the United States have been doing this for the entire time that this law was passed, and it's really I can't even find the right word to say it, but I mean, the federal government promised to support this and to fund states at 40%, leaving states with the decision that, all right, we're going to cover the remaining 60%. So we've never been made whole in terms of meeting the needs or having the funds to meet the needs of a group of very vulnerable students. Students in Madison, I might add, that, for years we've prided ourselves. This building that I'm in right now, our district administration building, was first built as an orthopedic school for children with severe disabilities, in 1939. So Madison has such a history of embracing inclusivity before it was called that. Right now we're having to make decisions based on the amount that goes unfunded. Yeah.
So it's thinking about what goes unfunded. You don't have any discretion in terms of that. You just can't. Here's a kid, we just can't meet their needs. They don't get an education. That's not an option, legally speaking. But are there things you can cut back on? Are we going to compromise the quality of education for some of these kids?
No, and I think we have to remember this. I mean, a child receiving special education services is a general education student first and foremost. Students who are in our schools are treated and embraced and welcomed just like all of our students, with the addition of sometimes specialized curriculum or modification or medical support or any number of interventions or supports that we have in place. So it isn't so much that we do less of one or the other. They're together. And MMSD, we serve all students in our schools. So it's just a matter of how can we truly make our program whole, so that students can be successful in any environment that they're learning in.
I think you might have mentioned or alluded to this, but I just want to be real clear. Moving money from Fund 10 to Fund 27 is something that happens pretty regularly, just because the feds and the state don't combine to fund 100% of special ed.
Correct.
$64 million is what you're projecting next year. How does that differ from previous years? Is that a lot more than previous years, or?
Well, remember, without the increase from the state, that 42%, right. I think our projection was
74 million. Right?
I think it was in 75. So it's gone up, and I don't have it year by year, but with inflation, with some of the needs, yes, it's gone up. Yeah, it's absolutely gone up.
And the state then committed to 45% the year after that. Is that right?
45%. Now, there's some key terminology here. They agreed to 42% first year, 45% second year, and that is a some certain term that they've put on that as well, meaning that they've allocated an exact amount, and districts will divide that up through formula. So it's not a some certain where it's going to be exactly 42% of our district local needs. It's going to be a larger formula increase to 42%. So it might actually end up being less than that.
Yeah. And then the with the state, and then the state budget also has nothing in terms of general aid increase. Is that right?
No, and we're actually losing $12 million in state aid right now. So what that means is that we're at the revenue limit. So any state aid that we receive is a property tax reduction to our tax base.
Oh, I see.
So it's, we're at that point where we're at the maximum, revenue limit, and increased it with our referendum. So now there is no additional relief that taxpayers will have. So any increases in our levy is going to come from an increase in local property taxpayers, increase to local property taxpayers.
Right. So looking ahead now, I mean, obviously, it sounds like you're just kind of really focused on, like, what do we do right now? Like, we got to get through this next year in one way or another. How do you even start to think about 3-5 years down the road? And how many times you're going to have to come back for more referendum?
Well, a few things for us. We've got 10 schools that are in various stages of being rebuilt right now. So there's great excitement to welcome that again, thanks to our property taxpayers. We are also recognizing that Madison-Dane County region is experiencing tremendous growth. And we very much want to create a destination school district. We want Madison to be a place where people want to live, work, and learn in MMSD. So we've got a lot of efforts underway of examining different areas in our district, in the city, that are being developed. And we want to be part of the conversation, how this city develops and the history of MMSD in the city. We want to strengthen that relationship. So we're working with developers, both private and public. We're ideating different ideas for programs that we might offer that would really motivate and excite people that would want to come here. So we're not going to stop innovating, but we have to do it in a thoughtful way. We can't do it in a way that is going to place it solely on the back of our property taxpayers.
Do you anticipate, though, having to come back for another referendum either next year or the year after, given the state of affairs at the state and at the federal government?
I think there's quite a pattern established that it would be logical to say, we would have to examine that. The presidential election coming up in 28, that would obviously be a time that is not lost on my mind. But there's a lot of unknown as well. This 11% federal holdback, what if that was 100%? Or what if it starts to target other areas? The state had a $4.2 billion surplus, and roughly half of it was allocated, meaning that there is still a surplus. So we don't know what the future will be. We don't know who will be in charge of making those decisions in 2 or 4 years. And I'd like to hope that we can start to see the impacts of defunding public education and the outcomes to really rethink about what public education needs to look like in the 21st century.
Is there something systemic that could change in the state, at the state level? I mean, I think last time we talked, we kind of compared Minnesota versus Wisconsin and other states who just do funding differently, not necessarily with more or less dollars, but just allocating those dollars differently in a way that maybe makes more sense, where you're not having to scramble every year to figure out what to do. Is there anything big that can happen like that?
I run the risk of, when I look at how we're funded at MMSD, 10.7% of our funding comes from the state, our state aid. And that means that, that our local property taxpayers are funding, almost entirely all the operations in MMSD. And you look at that ratio to other school districts, Madison, because it's very property rich, there has to be a better way to have some sort of equalization formula that I really think needs to be looked at. And I'm not saying that MMSD needs to come out better than anyone else. But when I look at some of the numbers and the amount of money that districts get from the state, it's quite glaring, to think that in state aid alone, just to give one example, 1 point here, that MMSD receives about $50 million, while Milwaukee receives $658 million. And yes, they have a little bit more than double the students, 27,000 to 68. But even a city like Neenah, the Neenah School District of 7,000 students, receives the same amount of state aid that MMSD does.
And how does that translate into a percentage of their budget? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know the percentage of the budget. It's about 57% in Neenah's state aid.
So Madison gets almost 11% of its budget from the state. Neenah gets almost more than half of their budget from the state. How does that even happen?
Well, this is all about the levers that districts have to play in their local school districts. And it's why no two districts are alike. I'm sure there's some that are very similar. Mm-hmm. But it's frustrating when you look at it in the aggregate. And yet the other thing that I need to be careful about is this community has always supported our schools. And I certainly don't want to, I'm very appreciative of that.
Yeah.
But it gets to a point where how much is enough?
What, as far as you can see in terms of in the current political environment, there's just a lot of hot buttons all the time. Mm-hmm. It feels like there's, Madison, as you mentioned, has been always really committed to inclusivity, and that's almost like you're not supposed to do that anymore, or at least you're not supposed to talk about it. What are some of the other sort of day-to-day issues that you're facing that you're either hearing about from staff and students, or that's kind of on your mind given the political environment we're in right now?
Yeah, well, I think a number of things. First, I did see the announcement from Chancellor Mnuchin yesterday. Very chilling to read that, right here where our office is, that those kind of steps are taking place and it's having an impact. So I'm trying to follow as many other public institutions as closely as I can, to see how they're preparing or how it's impacting them. I think larger than that is some of the immigration conversations and actions that are happening. The images and stories, narratives that are coming out of it is beyond troubling. And as strong as I think we are in Madison as a community, I know that there are likely vulnerabilities. So I've just asked our people to communicate, to talk. We've got 27, teachers who are here on visas from other countries who love being here, and they're doing a great job. And the conversation I had with them towards the end of the school year, really, put a heavy feeling on my heart in terms of some of the things that individuals are facing in this country every day that I don't have to.
Yeah.
And we're all working towards so many of the same things. So while it's easy to say a lot of this is out of my control, sure, I could say that, but I have tended to tell people that we have to think local. That yes, this might be happening in other cities, other states, other countries, but right now we've really got to put our arms around Madison, around MMSD. We've got to communicate. We have to work together. We have to look for solutions. But we also have to provide space and empathy for people who might be experiencing real trouble. And I do hear, different things make it my way about how people are experiencing some of the great differences that are being expressed amongst groups right now. And I'm just being very thoughtful as a leader to try my best to not take sides, to understand, to try to help, to make sure that we can have common goals that we're working towards. But we're also going to have to find some time to come together and unite as a community as well.
Mm-hmm. With all that going on, you mentioned you got some building renovations happening that you're excited about. You've made a few announcements recently. After all the controversy at Southside Elementary, now it's renamed Lori
Mancarey.
Lori Mancarey. I was going to say Lori Carey Mann. I knew that wasn't right. Elementary school. You put Percy Brown at the helm of that school, longtime friend of ours, and you got a new director of family youth community engagement. What else are you sort of excited about, optimistic about for the next year?
Yeah, well, I've kind of created a whole new office, repurposed and reorganized some people at our district level to focus more on strategy and innovation together. I think too many times in large organizations, we get offices that are disparate or in different places. They don't have common interactions. Mm-hmm. And I just really believe in how strategy, whether it's fund development or grants or innovation, has to all be in one place together, kind of that nucleus or the heartbeat of the organization. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that. We have a contract with an organization called MTG, where they're going to be working with us for 2 years to try to take stock in how Madison is developing. Mm-hmm. And look at things like attendance boundaries, to look at things like where is there a void in programming? What might we be able to do with potential future growth in MMSD if we serve students in this way, in this manner? And to me, I came back to Madison to try to learn and understand what it is that the people here want, families want for their children's education, and to really deliver on that and inspire, our community to get behind MMSD.
All right, Dr. Dirk Arthur, thanks so much for the time, and enjoy the rest of your summer.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And we're back, and we're going to do a question. And you can do this only one time. Well, yeah, one time.
Okay.
I'm making this up because I'm watching Rob play with his little board, and it made me think, would you like, for one time only, be able to pause, rewind, or fast forward through life? Your very specific life, as it is right now. Pause, forward, or rewind.
Like to fast forward through this moment.
It's making you see. I think my questions make Nick overthink and get overwhelmed.
I would fast forward because I tend not to think about my mistakes. I would like to not think about them. So there's no reason.
There's
to
no
look through
growth.
those again.
There's no growth.
Yeah.
There's no reflection in growth.
I started wearing hats. I'm not into character development anymore. Fast forward.
Fast forward.
I'm going to rewind for reasons that you will find cringeworthy and overly sentimental, but my phone keeps trying. You know how your iPhone does this thing now where like
it'll pop
almost
up.
like Facebook does, where there's like memories of like pictures and stuff, and I keep seeing pictures of kids when they were little, and I'm like, I didn't savor those moments enough. Like I'm seeing these pictures, and I remember the moment of that picture, but I wanted to live that day again. And I feel like I didn't like. I was thinking about. I was already fast forwarding when kids were like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and now suddenly they're taller than me and which isn't saying a lot.
Mouthier than you,
and mouthier, and I love who they've become, you know, and having our older daughter in town over the weekend and it was really nice to reconnect with everybody, but it's still like even as they're growing up and getting ready to plan what, you know, think about what's next for them, still there's those moments that you miss and that I wish I would have sat in and been more present for.
You should have went first.
well, now I'm a jerk. Because I'm like, oh, Rob's getting misty. I don't know what to do with this. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I don't have a lot to rewind into, so I will fast forward. You know, see. I guess if I could fast forward from where I am now and like see on like my iMac like what the fast forward is, then I would feel better about. I don't want to just like fast forward.
You don't get to
like,
know.
Yeah, you ruptured your Achilles last night. I don't
want that. See, I think my questions just like make you think too much, and you're like, oh no, as an overthinker, I don't know how to decide.
Exactly.
I actually think I would pause sometimes. I think it would be great to pause in some of those moments that Rob described, but also in just like, I don't know, like a great concert that you're watching, or just in little like, and just in general, just pause sometimes. It would be nice to pause and let time slow down a little bit. Is there a way to slow down time? Just slow it. Being
awake at 2 a.m. while it's raining.
Oh, look at you!
Everything's quieter.
Everything's quieter. All right, y'all. We'll be back next week.
365 Amplified is produced and edited by me, Rob Chappell, and is a production of 365 Media Foundation, a nonprofit, local, independent media organization in Madison, Wisconsin. Wherever you're listening to this right now, hit the subscribe or follow button to get new episodes every Friday. And between episodes, get your latest news at madison365.org and follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. Wherever you get your news, we'll be there.